Dear Nintendo, hi! It's me, Austin! Okay, it's not as catchy when I say it, and it's also irrelevant because I'm not writing to you today to talk about Mario Jumpman Mario. I'm here to talk to you about a Metroid. I've been thinking a lot about Metroid the past couple of weeks, like way too much. It's been haunting my sleep. I'll be like having nice dreams about my two Overwatch bays, Doomfist and Sombra, when all of a sudden, blam! Friggin' Metroid shows up to ruin everything. Since my intro last week went on long enough for 2 episodes worth of introductions, let's just launch into this right away. When I say I've been thinking about Metroid, what I actually mean is, specifically, I've been thinking about Metroids. You know, the titular jellyfish monsters of the series. Not Samus, who I thought was Metroid when I was a little kid, just like how I thought that the pointy-eared dude with a sword trying to collect triangles was Zelda for like way too long. Anyway, what I've specifically been interested in is the biology of the Metroids, their role in the ecology of the universe, and their creation. Astoundingly, in the process of my research, I not only discovered amazing secrets about the Metroids, but uncovered what may be one of the biggest secrets in all of the entirety of the Metroid universe. Okay, well, maybe not. But still, some stuff y'all didn't know, and some stuff that will blow your frickin' mind. In my quest to understand the origin of the Metroids, I had to dig deep into Metroid lore, of which there's a frickin' butt-ton. Seriously, there's way more lore for the Metroid series than I could have possibly imagined. Did you know there's a manga? Well, you probably did if you watched Matt Pat's video on Metroid. Anyway, in the first Metroid, you, as Samus, blast your way through hordes of space pirates, kill the Space Pirate King, and eventually lobotomize a giant artificial brain called Mother Brain. The Metroids, interestingly, are almost a footnote in the game. They're just like a biological weapon used by the space pirates. Basically, they're attack dogs that latch onto you and drain your energy away. It's not until Metroid 2 for the Game Boy and the upcoming remake where we really go to town against the Metroids. Turns out there's an entire planet of these things, SR-388. Even more terrifyingly, while they were kinda annoying in the first Metroid game, it turns out that A, the Metroids in that game were just babies and they have a whole range of metamorphic phases they go through, and B, they're super good at killing stuff. Which I guess is as good a point as any to hop into the manga, which states that the Metroids, who have been on SR-388 for only a handful of years, had killed 80% of life on the planet. Holy crap! So, fearing a galaxy-wide epidemic of jellyfish facehuggers, the Galactic Federation launches Samus down to the planet to commit mass frickin' genocide against the Metroids, which she does! Yay! Good job, Samus! But here's where things get kinda weird. Did I talk about the Chozo yet? Let me check. Oh, nope, totally didn't yet. Okay, so the Chozo are an ancient race of alien bird people, and they're responsible for, like, everything in the Metroid universe. Mother Brain? They created her. Samus's power suit? Created that too. In fact, they also modified Samus's DNA to be more like theirs so she could survive on their home planet, since her people were massacred by space pirates when she was a child, which, hey, bonus, the Chozo accidentally led to that colony. The Chozo, these old and wrinkly as balls aliens, created Metroids and unleashed them onto SR-388. But why? That's like finding out Yoda created the aliens from Alien and then dropped them into a ship to massacre space marines. Well, if you watched Matt Pat's video on why you should definitely leave cute, fluffy animals to die in a planet-wide explosion, you already know the answer. Parasite X. Parasite X is a microbe capable of invading host bodies, consuming and deconstructing them down to the very fabric of their DNA and rebuilding themselves with the skills, memories, and physical form of whatever they've latched onto, except reprogrammed with one core purpose: spread Parasite X further and get more power. Kinda like a horrifying version of the already quite terrifying Ophiocordyceps unilateralis, also known as the zombie fungus, because it hijacks the nervous system of ants in order to spread itself. We're gonna mostly skim over how Parasite X works, but here's the basics. The Chozo discovered Parasite X on SR-388 by observing it devour a space frog and assume its form. Fearing the power of this parasite, especially if it were to, say, invade a sentient species and learn how to fly spaceships, they created the Metroids with the help of Mother Brain to act as a predator against Parasite X. And it's here that I finally stop lore dumping like an 8-week-old puppy on your favorite rug and get to the science! Because the science of these things is unbelievably cool. Metroids have a number of interesting properties, the most useful and dangerous of which is their ability to absorb energy from, well, just about everything. Plants, animals, form-fitting power suits. If it has free available energy, Metroids can take it willingly or not. This also touches on something that kind of annoys me about fiction in general, where writers act like energy is some sort of thing. Cyclops' energy blasts are a great example, but there's examples everywhere. Energy isn't a thing so much as it is a concept. In its simplest form, it's the ability to do stuff, to move, to generate. This can take a lot of forms. Photons carry massless energy, heat energy is a microscopic form of kinetic energy, and then there's biological energy. We tend to think of it in calories since that's how we interact with biological energy from day to day, but it's actually much simpler than that. The ability to do stuff for almost everything alive is adenosine triphosphate, which I'm sure I'll get a lot of flack in the comments section for mispronouncing, so we're just gonna call it ATP for now on. 10 carbon atoms, 16 hydrogen atoms, 5 nitrogen atoms, 13 oxygen atoms, and 3 phosphorus atoms. Created from a combination of eating and breathing, that's what we use to do everything. And this here is the first key to understanding how Metroids work, and more specifically, how they drain energy from other life. The first thing that Metroids do is bogart their host's ATP. This, horrifically, is something that actual diseases can do, like the bacteria Chlamydia trachomatis, or just chlamydia. But it doesn't stop there. Metroids are capable of leaching electricity and, weirdly, eating beta radiation. Seriously, the manga tells us that Metroids multiply in the presence of beta radiation. Beta radiation is highly ionizing and isn't the same as mushrooms that are able to photosynthesize gamma radiation. Gamma rays are just high-energy photons. You know, light. Beta radiation, though, is an actual free electron zooming through the air at high speed. That being said, this is a surprisingly consistent characteristic of Metroids when you consider that electricity is also electrons, and ATP just facilitates the transfer of electrons throughout our bodies. Metroids are just big old electron vacuums, and that is a real thing that exists on our planet. Bacteria of the genuses Geobacter and Shionella have both been observed straight up living off of electrons. Seriously, you stick an electrode shooting out electrons in the ground and these bacteria will be all over it, multiplying and doing bacteria shit, eating nothing but pure, unadulterated electricity, which is like the most metal thing on the frickin' planet. So Metroids are surprisingly plausible. Cool, but that's not why you're here. You're here to know the why of it. Why are they the chosen weapon against Parasite X? And why are they so dangerous? And why, at the end of the day, was creating them the worst frickin' choice that Chozo could have possibly made aside from creating a big, giant AI monster out of a huge brain with an eyeball stapled to it? Well, in order to understand that, we're gonna have to move away from biochemistry and take a look at ecology. Specifically, the food web. The food web is a colloquial way of describing the interwoven food chains of an ecological system. Like, the plant gets hit by the sun, uses that to create more plants, which is eaten by, I don't know, what eats plants? Vegans? That vegan will eat the plant to create more vegan until that vegan is either eaten by a tiger or dies as a result of the inescapable creep toward eternal darkness we all face every day. Cancer or a heart attack. probably cancer. In the process of a vegan's life, they shed skin cells, poop places, sneeze, etc. All sorts of things eat this waste, and things will eat the dead body of the vegan. The tiger, worms, bacteria, and on it goes. Oh, and the tiger will be eaten by stuff too. More bacteria, jackals, jackalopes, stuff like that. Anyway, all of these things interconnected with one another is the food web. In a closed system, these different elements mostly balance out. Only so much stuff can keep so much other stuff alive. There's give and take, but on a long enough timeline, barring meteors or the interference of civilizations, things remain mostly cool. And it's this last part where things start to go off the rails. The Metroids were created by the Chozo, but we don't really know what that means. We're led to believe that they're a wholly synthetic organism created from the ground up, but I'm not so sure. And we can use a combination of the food web and the Chozo's known practices to figure this out. When the Metroids are discovered by the non-Chozo on SR388, 80% of the local population has been wiped out. We know, since we read the manga, that the Metroids were unleashed to eliminate Parasite X by, I guess, robbing them of the much-needed ATP they need to undergo cell growth, or perhaps just killing all their food so they have nothing to multiply from. But you know what's interesting? When Parasite X was discovered by the Chozo, the ecosystem of SR388 was completely imbalanced. Sure, they see a Parasite X blob kill and mutate into a copy of some weird frog thing, but so what? There's tons of life on SR388. Plants, frog things to kill. You know what that means? Parasite X has a natural predator. And that predator was probably the Metroids. You see, the Chozo display a remarkable aptitude for gene therapy and genetic modification, but we never see them straight up create life from scratch. They modify Samus's DNA, they modify their own to prolong their lives. It's only reasonable to presume that in their panic upon discovering a space version of the zombie ant fungus, they singled out their local predators and juiced them into something else. Modern day genetic modification is done with a combination of viruses used to implant changes, CRISPR, literal guns that shoot DNA into cells, and sometimes good old selective breeding. The Chozo are like, I don't know, space Monsanto. I mean, that's what we do in Metroid, right? Just append space to everything. Anyway, remember that ant zombie fungus? As horrifying as it is, and as capable as it is of completely wiping out entire ant colonies, it has a limiting factor: a currently undiscovered predator. A parasite that parasites the parasite so you can parasite while you parasite. Nobody knows what it's called or even what it looks like, but there's some natural parasite of this parasite called a hyperparasite. This limits its ability to spread by a whole bunch. Seriously, because of this hyperparasite, this fungus only has about 6 to 7% viability. That's like the Krogan genophage, but for horrifying zombie funguses. This is important because, like, in our flashbacks of SR388, what we see is a completely balanced ecosystem. Everything working more or less in harmony with one another. Sure, there's a terrifying Parasite X, but there's a hyperparasite in the form of, well, probably bacterial Metroids. Let's call them proto-Metroids. And in their panic, the Chozo tried to eliminate this parasite by goosing up the Metroids into some sort of super hyper parasite, which freaking nuked the local ecosystem, created an accidental biological weapon, attracted the attention of the galactic government, who then landed on the planet to commit genocide against the GMOs like, I don't know, some sort of militant faction of Whole Foods, which in turn left Parasite X without a freaking predator, natural or unnatural, and put the entire galaxy in danger, just because the Chozo decided to play space god. The point, given all the evidence, is that the Chozo, if they just let nature take its course and left the planet alone, maybe as some sort of space nature preserve, everything would have been fine. Some space frogs would have died, sure, but damn, at least the entire galaxy wouldn't be at risk because they made some sort of monocropping panic move. The lesson here is that ecosystems are complicated and often have factors that we can't even begin to imagine working together. And even if Space Bird Yodas think they can control for every factor, they can't. So, screw the Chozo and their accidental creation of literally every single problem in the Metroid universe. Stupid birds. Is that racist? Eh, who cares? They're not real. Sincerely, Austin. P.S. Also, space pirates? These dudes have an army, biological weapons, and have conquered entire space systems. I'm not sure the term pirates really applies here. It's like if we called them Mongols horse pirates. Get it together, Nintendo. Thank you everyone for watching my video on Metroid. Oh boy, nothing like cross-disciplinary videos to cause me all kinds of headaches. Thank you for watching it. Subscribe to the Game Theorists if you haven't. Watch MatPat's video on Metroid. Watch my other stuff. And I'm gonna go take a nap because I am so tired and I'm going on vacation now. Whee! Vacation! Whee!